Ready? All right. I want to welcome everybody to the March 19th, 2024 meeting. This time is 6:03. If I can get approval of the agenda this time.
So moved, John.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
No. All right. It's our honor tonight to have Josh Eccles from Gray Community Church who's going to open us up an invocation and pledge. Welcome.
Let us pray. Jesus, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for all that you do for us. We thank you for the cross. We're approaching the Easter season, and Lord, we just remember that day, that time. We thank you for your resurrection, which gives us life. I thank you for these leaders and these community members. I pray you give them wisdom as they continue to lead our community. We know that you put them in these positions, and so we honor you with that. We ask you for your grace and your leadership. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All right, then we'll move to consent agenda and approval of minutes. We had the first Tuesday of March 5th, along with executive session on March 5th and a call meeting on March 11th. If y'all had an opportunity to review the minutes, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, John.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. New business, FY23 audit presentation. Mr. Irwin, tell me we got some more good news. That's what we need. We need all the good news we can get.
I'm here to deliver. Well, good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Again, my name is David Irwin, and I'm with Malden Jenkins. I was the partner who oversaw this year's audit of the county's financial statements. And again, certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all this evening to discuss the results of this year's audit. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but the purpose of my presentation is to provide you all an overview of our independent auditor's report. Talk about the results of the two compliance reports that we issue in conjunction with the audit, hit a few of the financial statement highlights, discuss some information that the auditing standards requires that we communicate to you all, and then obviously to answer any questions that you all may have. Now, the financial statements themselves that have been presented to you all are the responsibility of county's management and members of the board. As your independent external auditors, our responsibility is to issue an opinion on these statements. We conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and governmental auditing standards. And I'm happy to say that we are issuing a clean or unmodified opinion on this year's report. Again, this is what you want. This is the highest level of assurance that we can provide your external auditor. What this means is that, in our opinion, the financial statements are considered to be fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Again, as part of the audit, there are two compliance reports that we issued this year. The first of which is the single audit report. A single audit is a compliance audit that is required when an entity has over or spends over $750,000 in federal funds during the year. The county had approximately $1.4 million of federal expenditures in FY23. As was the case with the financial audit, we are issuing a clean or unmodified opinion on the single audit as well. The second compliance report is called the Yellow Book Report. Again, this is a report on the county's internal controls and your compliance with various laws and regulations. And I'm pleased to say that we do not have any audit findings to report to you all this year, meaning we noted no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the county's internal controls during our audit. Again, as I've communicated to you all in the past, with all the new accounting standards that are being implemented each year, and really just how complex a financial reporting process has become, it makes it all the more impressive to be able to report to you all that you all are not only getting a clean opinion, but also no audit findings. So again, that's something that you all should be proud of, and it's a testament to the hard work done by your staff. Jason, Levita, the entire finance department, as always, they did a great job again this year. They were very accommodating, our audit team. They worked really hard to address all of our questions and get us everything that we needed in order to get the audit finalized by the state deadline. So again, we've enjoyed working with them again this year and certainly appreciate their hard work. Now for a brief overview of your financial statements. As you look through this report, one section I always like to point out is the Management's Discussion Analysis, otherwise known as the MD&A. This begins on page 5. It's right after our audit opinion. I would strongly encourage everyone to read this section of the financial statements. The purpose of the MD&A is to make it easier for a broader audience to use and better understand your financial statements. And it does this by providing a narrative explanation of the financial statements from management's perspective. If you have a question about any fluctuations in activity or anything unique or unusual that occurred during the year, oftentimes you can find that answer within the MD&A. In addition, there's quite a bit of comparative information in this section that discloses financial activity for not only FY23 but also FY22 as well. So again, if you can, please take the time to read through the MD&A. The county's basic financial statements, they're broken down into 3 components, the first of which is the government-wide financial statements. This begins on page 15 if you all want to follow along. But the government-wide financial statements, they provide a broad view of the county's operations in a manner similar to what you would see in a private sector business. All of the county's funds under this section are combined under one of 2 columns. You have a column for your governmental activities and your column for your business type activities. Again, this depends on the nature of the fund. Also included in this section is a separate column for the Board of Health, which is a component unit of the county. But page 15 is the statement of net position, otherwise known as the balance sheet. As of August 31st, which again is the county's fiscal year, the county had total assets and deferred outflows of resources of around $105 million. That's around a $6 million increase compared to FY22. Again, a significant portion of your assets are your capital assets, net of accumulated depreciation, which total around $53.7 million as of year end. Again, when I talk about capital assets, that's the land, buildings, machinery, equipment, infrastructure, et cetera, that is owned by the county. You all also had about $47.3 million in cash and cash equivalents as of year end. But one thing to keep in mind, a portion of that is made up of unspent bond proceeds from prior year that is restricted as to its use. Looking at your liabilities and deferred inflows of resources, they total around $43.5 million, which was an increase of about $1.5 million compared to prior years. You had around a $6 million increase in assets and only about a $1.5 million increase in liabilities. Of your total liabilities, around $33 million are classified as long-term, meaning they're not due within the next fiscal year. The county ended the year with a net position of around $61.6 million. That's shown midway down the page on page 16. And this is an increase of about $4.6 million compared to FY22. So your net position increased by a little over 8% for the year. So again, overall, a good year for the county from an entity-wide perspective. But that being said, this is really the only time you'll see the county's financial activities reported in this manner. In the day-to-day operations of the county, the focus is more so on the individual funds themselves. Which brings me to the second component of your financial statements, which are the fund level statements. Again, this is what you all typically see throughout the year. This component focuses on individual parts of the government and reports the county's operations in more detail than that of the government-wide statements. And when you talk about all the different funds of the county, if I'm in your shoes, my primary focus is on the general fund. Again, the general fund is the main operating fund of the county, and therefore it accounts for the majority of your revenues received and funds expended. But if you turn to page 23 and 24, you'll see the statement of revenues, expenses, and change in fund balance for the governmental funds, commonly referred to as the income statement. But again, as you can see on this page, total revenues for the general fund, they were around $23.4 million. That's about $1 million increase compared to FY22. As you would expect, the majority of the revenues are derived from taxes, which was around $19.2 million. A couple other significant revenue sources worth mentioning. You all had intergovernmental revenues around $1.3 million and charges for services of about $1.6 million for the year. Midway down that page, you'll see the expenditures, which total just over $21 million. That's actually a decrease of around $800,000 compared to FY22. So again, your revenues increased by about $1 million, and your expenditures decreased by around $800,000. But again, as you would expect, public safety and general government, they represent the majority of these expenditures. Public safety was around $6.8 million. And that accounted for around 32% of the general fund's total expenditures. You also had general government expenditures of approximately $6.2 million, and public works expenditures of around $3.5 million for the year. So in total, the general fund balance increased by about $2.7 million for an ending fund balance of right at $19 million for the year. And again, one thing I always like to remind people is that fund balance is not what you all have in the form of cash for discretionary spending. Fund balance, again, is essentially just the difference between assets and liabilities, only a portion of which is cash on hand. Additionally, nothing to think about or to take into consideration, the general fund incurs expenditures of around $1.8 million per month. So as of year end, the county had an unassigned fund balance equal to around 9 months worth of operating expenditures. So, again, what this means is that as of August 31st, the county theoretically could have continued to operate for 9 months without any additional revenue sources. So that's a strong fund balance for a county your size. But again, a portion of that fund balance is necessary to cover the expenditures of September through November when your revenues are typically down compared to other times of the year. As well as to account, again, fund balance as well to account for any unforeseen circumstances that may arise during the year where that fund balance is needed. So again, if I'm in your shoes, I feel really good about the fund balance that you all have. You all have done a great job of continuing to increase your fund balance. I believe I mentioned this last year, but 6 years ago, the county's fund balance was right at $5.7 million. And now we're talking about a fund balance around $19 million. So the county has consistently stayed within budget. And, again, have continued to be able to add to your fund balance, which is something that you all should be proud of, and management and everyone in the county. Again, it's impressive to see what you all have been able to do the past 5-6 years. One other fund I do want to briefly mention is the Water Sewer Fund, which is the sole business type activity of the county. Again, enterprise funds, they're used to account for operations in a manner, some of that of a private sector business. The objective, the intent of these enterprise funds are to be self-sufficient, meaning that the intent is to generate sufficient operating revenues to cover your operating expenses. But the income statement for this fund is on page 34. And as you can see on this page, total operating revenues were just over $3 million. Operating expenses were around $3.2 million. Which resulted in a slight operating loss of around $246,000 for the year. But after factoring in other non-operating revenues, capital contributions, and transfers in from other funds, the Water Sewer Fund's net position increased by about $728,000 for an ending balance of $17.8 million. Again, net position for your business type activities, the same concept applies as what I talked about fund balance for your general fund. Net position, again, it's just the difference between assets and liabilities. But, when I talk about the operating loss, one thing to keep in mind is that included in your operating expenses is depreciation expense, which was just under $1 million for the year. And depreciation expense is a non-cash item. So while the Water Sewer Fund did have an operating loss, it still generated positive operating cash flows, which again is an important metric to look at when assessing financial performance, and certainly something that you want to see out of your enterprise funds. One final item to discuss, again, as I mentioned, is just certain information about the audit that the auditing standards requires that we communicate. Again, with you all receiving a clean opinion, no audit findings, this is kind of essentially a formality, but we received full cooperation from county management and staff. There were no disagreements with management that would have affected the financial statements or the audit in general. There were no uncorrected misstatements. And again, we are independent of the county as required by governmental auditing standards. So with that, unless anybody has any questions, that concludes my presentation. But again, I feel like this year's audit went extremely well. I want to thank your staff once again for all their hard work. And we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be of service to you all, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Hey, David, I had a quick question. I could hear some of it, and some of it I missed. Increased revenues was about $1 million. And I can't remember if it's on page 18 or not, but I think I circled $1 million for change in that position.
Your net position at the entity wide was about $4.6 million.
Okay, great. Can you?
Your revenues in your general fund increased by $1 million.
Thank you.
And then your expenditures in your general fund decreased by about $800,000.
Gotcha. Key contributors to that $1 million net increase?
I think taxes increased. I don't have that information on hand. We might could look at the MD&A to look to find that answer, but as far as the detail goes, comparing that to prior year, I don't have that information readily
Gotcha.
available.
And the 800,000 decrease in expenditures?
Same thing. I think public safety decreased a little bit, but again, I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. And you're looking at me that's probably not correct.
No, it's okay. I'm just impressed that the public safety decreased. That's not normal.
But again, that's,
Thankful.
that could be, let
Okay.
me see if there's,
I'll read it just like you suggested it, I promise.
okay.
And David, I'll clarify one thing. So tax values increased, not taxes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I want to make sure we're
Correct.
clear on that,
Correct.
because
Taxes, yeah.
we
Value-
rolled
Correct.
back the taxes, so there was not an
Correct.
increase this year.
Correct.
Come on.
Correct.
Assessments
Value
increased.
Yeah.
increase, yeah. Thank you for clarifying that, 'cause I got to think about it today. Yeah.
Yeah,
We didn't raise the millage rate.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
any questions?
that's a good point. I look at it from a number perspective. And
Any questions? So we love good news, and you brought some good news again, once again.
that's right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you
very
all.
much.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
Huh?
That's great.
Chairman, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least mention Levita, even though she don't want us to.
Uh-huh. Where's she hiding
She
at?
tries to hide, but if anybody wants to know, she's in the back. She's the brains of the operation, and she makes sure every year that we're spending money like we're supposed to. And also, Chairman, I want to say that it's not just finance and Jason, which they are the head of all of it and keep it all going, but they also keep the department heads in line. When we do our budgets, you know, when they bring it to us, they have already gone through pretty much everything, and they've said no 100 times before they bring it to us. So we can't thank them and the department heads enough for being conscientious and intentional about saving. I mean, $800,000 in reduced expenditures this year. That's, to me, that's as huge as increased revenues.
And I would say, to echo Sam, they do a good job of making sure that we don't do crazy stuff. And I appreciate that, because if somebody doesn't check us, sometimes we can get out of whack. And the one great thing here in this county is you don't have to worry about that. Levita will harass you, slap your hands, right, and give you a call, and I appreciate that. And they'll even take email messages at midnight. I appreciate you clearing that up for me. I didn't know you were going to answer the email at midnight, but I appreciate you for that. But that's important, folks. And considering the growth that we've had in getting to 9 months fund balance to cover expenditures, that's a lot. I remember when it was 3, and that's a little scary when you roll into September, December, and the taxes aren't coming in, because even people like me forget, or we pay a little late. But the county is still in a good financial position. So I appreciate you. And when you look into it, I don't know if, have we posted this on the website where people can see it?
It's posted to, so we're required to post it to a Carl Vinson Institute site. I know it's posted there. I'll check to see if we've got it on our website. If it's not, we can get it posted.
Or at least a link where they can get to it.
Yep. For citizens, it's a good idea to kind of look at that. It gives you a historical perspective. I remember when the budget was somewhere around 17 million, and now it's much higher. I think it was 15 million when I first got here. And as we grow, I think our departments are growing, and when we put on things online like the fire department, you're going to see a spike, but there's some balance with regard to the increase in collections for taxes, not the increase of taxes. So, thank you.
Ms. Crutchfield, you got anything tonight?
I really do.
Thank
Oh,
you.
she really does.
All right. That don't happen. This does not, this is history.
I had to write it, I had to say it in my phone. Shannon laughed at me, but I had to say it in my phone so it'd come out.
Pull the mic down so that we can hear you.
I did speak this in my phone so I could be clear to everybody. It wasn't because of me, it's because of prayer and favor God showed on us. Throughout this entire process, I'd like to personally thank all those who were involved, and I'm going to get teary, in the audit process. As they would say, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to bring all of us together to do this. I'd like to thank the Board of Commissioners for entrusting us with the annual audit every single year. I'd like to thank Jason Risner for being a leader that does not micromanage anybody. He entrusts us to do the audit and to do it to the best of our ability. But he also makes sure that we adhere to all the Georgia laws as well as Jones County financial policies and procedures. He makes sure we keep all of those intact. I always tell him that brings out the law side that he don't use. I just want to say thank you to the finance and the administration department for all that's been done and all that they continue to do on a daily basis. We have a great staff. We have a great team. I don't do it by myself. It takes all of us. There is no I in team. It takes every one of us to make this happen. Thanks for everybody's dedication, their dependability. I just want to say, let's continue to keep up the great work, not just for us, but all the constituents of Jones County, Georgia. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Wow.
I'm not following that one, Chairman.
I mean, either. That was great. Yep. Good deal. All right. Y'all ready to move on? All right. Begin text amendment process for metal siding. Mr. Petrowski?
I think you already have the first page in your package that I have. This is a request from the Planning Commission from 3 weeks ago. We've seen a significant uptick in the amount of structures that are requesting metal siding. And the Planning Commission would like to see that use approved. The Planning Commission would like to see metal siding approved as a permitted use in the agricultural district, and might also want to consider adding in the RMH district for the simple reason you can have a metal sided single wide in RMH. It makes sense to allow a dwelling to have it. And they've also recommended that metal siding be allowed as a conditional use in the residential districts. So that's there for your consideration. If at some point you'd like to move forward, I provided you some verbiage at the bottom of the letter recommending a course of action.
I like, because I mean, there's a lot of good-looking metal siding out these days, and it's nothing like it used to be when this, before this was, taking place. I like the idea. Any
So
questions from the board?
when do you need us to make a motion to start the text amendment process?
I don't need that. It's just whenever you feel like it's a good idea to begin the process.
Motion to begin the process for the text amendment for metal siding.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? Done. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All ayes.
That'll come back to you in about 2 months with the Planning Commission's recommendation.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tim. You got anything,
He's up again.
you're up again.
Yes, sir. I have a request for consideration of lowering our occupational tax fee by 10% for online renewals. I provided you with a letter detailing some of the reasons. It's a significant decrease in labor for my department when we process an online application as opposed to a customer coming into the office. I can go from 15 to 20 minutes down to 5 minutes in processing it, plus I don't have a line of people waiting. And it would just be nice. Also, there's a fee for people using their credit card. This would help offset that fee. So I would recommend lowering that fee by 10% for an online renewal.
Does this interface directly with the Tyler system, or is it a standalone system?
I'm on a standalone system.
Like I said, saving time is, it's money, so it's a savings all the way around. I see it.
Motion to approve the discount for online renewal.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? None. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes across the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. right, begin text amendment process to change variance and appeals process. Commissioner Martin, this was your request tonight.
Yes, sir. Over the past few months and probably past few years, we've allowed the zoning and planning, the combination of the two boards to make these decisions. In the most recent situation that evolved in my district, it caused a bit of angst when this board made a determination not to allow containers to be a part of a neighborhood. I think it an egregious offense. I think it a serious issue when this is the board that was elected by the people to make that decision. I do understand that we appointed a board to then carry out those decisions. But after we made a ruling, you would think that that board would probably have some conversation with us, or at least go back and read or watch on the video as to why we made that decision. The idea that some new evidence was presented that would preclude the decision that we made, I think, is preposterous. And I take personal issue with it. In fact, so much so that I asked that it be on the agenda because I'd rather them never ever do it again. And with that being said, and I move that we make the changes to that appeals board and bring that portion back to this board as a final ruling decision.
All right,
That's a motion. Yes, sir.
we have a motion. Do we have a second? Dies from a lack of a second.
It's a terrible choice. I think we have the opportunity to hear the cases Tim shared with us. This is less than 70 a year. That's 6 a month. As an elected official, spend a little bit of time addressing those issues. Not such a big deal. We hear variances anyway. So, but I get it. Moving on.
Move on. Department heads. Who wants to? Levita's already spoke. Mr. Petrowski.
I just wanted to say, when you have to deal with money for the county, Levita acts like it's hers and really guards your funds well.
She's gonna walk out of here now.
Tim, for the record, Tim, for the record, I've been in there twice, and she's told me no just to say, I told the chairman no, so I walk out going, I know she meant yes, but that's all right. I walked out and she said, you can do it. Somebody needs something, but that's great. Yeah, she keeps us all in check, you know. We all ask Levita, can we, before we do anything, so that's great. Brandon, you hiding in the back? I have nothing. Wow. Jason?
I was just going to mention that the ground penetrating radar work will begin at the cemetery tomorrow, is our understanding. And so Public Works and an inmate detail from the Sheriff's Office have been doing a ton of work over there, and they've done a great job clearing all the underbrush and the leaves, and really looks good over there. They've got a good bit left to do, but have made a tremendous amount of progress. And so we're ready when he gets there, and we'll be able to stay ahead of him and look forward to getting that work started.
Have we had any requests for funeral services?
We have not.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Martin. You had any requests for?
Comments?
Funeral services.
Oh, I was asking you about funeral
Okay.
services. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, have you got anything? You got anything? Did I miss anybody? Citizen comments. Any citizen like to come forward tonight?
Yeah, I don't really know where to begin.
Hey, just for the record, so we got it, 'cause
Ken Adams, 430 East Virginia Lane. I guess I'm confused as why anybody else wouldn't want to correct this problem that we've got right here at our top legislative branch. Anybody got an answer for me? Nobody?
I don't think we have a problem personally. I think the statute created the board. This board just appoints the people that sit on that board. And I think it was a good decision. We don't need to make the rules and then defend them with a final decision. That's just my opinion. That's why I didn't second.
Well, I've spoke to multiple state representatives already. I'm gonna speak to every one in the state. Every one that I've spoke to, attorney or not, has assured me that being the top legislative branch, you have full authority to question everything that happened in this case. So anything saying you can't, is hoodoo. I'm baffled.
Right.
I'm baffled on this, why somebody else wouldn't support us in trying to get something done. But, I mean, I'm not gonna make the meetings about it. I mean, my next step will be court. I will take y'all to court. I'm gonna sue you for all I can sue you for. So, just give you heads up, circle your wagons, 'cause I'm coming. So, what y'all done is wrong, what they've done is wrong, and I will go broke. I will go to my grave broke over this, so, just want you to know it.
Thank you. Anyone else tonight, citizen comments?
Bruce Sherwood, 436 East Virginia Lane. Speaking on what Mr. Martin was talking about, our board, there's nobody to oversee our board. I understand that you feel that the people that you've appointed have made choices and you choose to do nothing about it because you feel you can't. But how can you have a board that has no one to answer to? I mean, you're giving our board the same power that you have, virtually, by saying we're not going to take on the variances. You need to oversee the board, sit in on meetings or hear meetings or question why we're doing certain things. I don't understand why there's not support from this board for that board. Our board has 2 new members right now. We have members that need to leave our board. That's not my position to say. But our board needs some direction, and it should come from this board. So by not having authority over our board, something needs to change. We need your guidance for our board.
Any other citizen comments tonight? Nope.
I'm just concerned about,
Real quick, your name and address for the record, so we've got it.
they didn't give a name and
Oh, I'm
address.
sorry.
Yes,
Yeah, we-
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
they-
yes.
yeah, they-
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'll
Okay,
gladly
yeah,
give
they
my
did.
name and
Sure.
address.
Just for the
Gladys
record, that's
George,
just something,
323 Green Settlement Road,
Yes,
Gray, Georgia. And it's concerning the cemetery. Okay, we got older people. I know the gate is unlocked, but with them closing the gate up, if she can go down to the cemetery and take pictures, we got older people that cannot go in and lift that gate. I feel like even with the lock off the gate should be left open in the daytime so that our people, older people, can walk in. Okay, then on the sign going in from the, on the side where the dumpster, you got a sign that's saying you got to park right here and go in the gate. Okay, you got older people that cannot park and walk down to visit their family members. And these are some of the things that we are concerned about. We didn't have these problems with walking to visit our family members until you all started. So now we would like to see some of these problems corrected. We know you all got your lawyer, but don't be surprised. Thank you.
Any other citizens tonight? No more citizens. Who wants, Commissioner Wood, you want to start tonight?
Sure, I will. I appreciate the people that come to these meetings and they bring items to our attention. And I'll just touch on accessibility in the cemetery, on State Place Cemetery there. If we can look at the accessibility, if the gate's not swinging right, last time I was down there, the gate was locked, but that was a couple weeks ago. Now it's unlocked. But we need to make sure that it's accessible for people to go in and visit their relatives. But I want to thank Levita and her team, the auditor, for a good financial, because it's something I look forward to every year is the budget process, and then the financials at the end, and we're on the right path. All right, that's all I have tonight.
Mr. Kiss?
Chairman, the only thing I got is I'd like to bring up what we talked about before, is, and Commissioner Martin has asked about boards, responsibilities, duties, that kind of stuff. I'd like to make sure that we add the required training on every board and make that mandatory. Because we've heard tonight that some boards need direction, and I think the direction is in the statute that created them. So if there's training on the board, we need to make sure that that's had, even if it's a requirement to be on the board.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Went through State Place last week. Was amazed at the clearing. Amazed at what I had seen from February the 22nd that looked just like spaces of wood line in between grave sites to now you can see the hollow holes of where people are actually buried at that I had no clue that was. I probably walked through them on the first day that I was in there, and I did park at the gate and walk in. It was just to see the guys out there working and how they had just blown off all the leaves from it and what all you can see is amazing. And I know that we're going to do right for all involved in this, and that in the outcome it's going to be better. Okay. With what's going on Virginia Lane, I'm like Sam, and I agree that we do need to make sure that all of our board is getting the training that they deserve to be in those positions, and that we all know that we're all coming from the same spot, the same place on decisions. Because that's one of the hardest things as a commissioner is hearing what one group's saying and another group's not saying. We all need to be on one page, and that's one thing that I see that we try to do our best here about everybody's on the same page, and that we're not trying to hide anything back, because as soon as we found out about State Place, we've been busy on that. As soon as we found out about Virginia Lane, we tried to get to the bottom of it there. And there's so many other things that you don't know back in the weeds that we work on every day too. And we all have full-time jobs, and this consumes quite a bit of all of us all the time. And we're not just up here for these meetings on meeting nights, it's every day. We're making other decisions too for the county. So.
All right, Commissioner Martin?
For some time, I've been requesting the board information for not only our benefit, but for citizen benefit, because a lot of times we don't know unless we ask, or we don't know until we get surprised by an event or situation that happens, and then we dialogue about it. We have been accused, and sometimes rightfully so, of being reactionary as opposed to proactive as a government, and there are some opportunities for us to fix that. With respect to our boards, there are a host of boards across the county that we appoint people to, that we requested to place people on, from DFACS to the Healthcare Board to the stuff that we deal with Zoning and Planning, Development Authority, and so on. And as an engaged citizen, you should have an opportunity to see, know, and understand what those boards do, and then have a seat on them. There's an opinion that people in this county don't necessarily want to put forth the energy that it takes to sit on some of these boards, and I challenge that and say that by virtue of a lot of you being present, there is an engaged community that is interested. And I would call on you to call on your people and your friends and your family, your church members and your coworkers to make themselves available for the different board appointments so they can know and understand and play an active role. I can tell you, I hate recycling the same board members over and over again. But when those are the people raising their hands or they're voluntold to do it because they've been doing it so long and we don't have anybody else, that's what happens. But when you have an eager and able-bodied constituency, and that can be from 18 to 85, it doesn't matter, you should be engaged, right? So when the boards get posted, please raise your hand and participate. We need you. So things happen with decency and order, and also with respect to the people that it could impact. Because sometimes decisions aren't necessarily made with the effect that it might have on the constituency, but that's what it should be. We're elected by a constituency to do that, and the board should reflect that. Back in the old days, there was a group called PLAN, People Looking Ahead Now, and it was sort of that group that also could be a part of the leadership, whether titled or not. They were informal leaders and active stakeholders in the community, and I don't know where they went, and I don't know how we bring that group back or bring another group back to fill in that gap, because when it comes to comprehensive plans and trying to understand what the county is doing and where we're going, all of those people, all of those citizens should be involved. And you shouldn't just come and show up, when it's at the last minute or after the effect, but hopefully in the planning and organizational side of it so you can have your input in it. And I hope we get to that. This government should be transparent and accountable. And I'm okay with being accountable. Every vote I make in here, I'm okay with it. Call me. Every decision that is made by myself and this body, whether I agree or disagree, I'm still accountable for it. I don't necessarily agree with some positions, but it is what it is after that, and we move on it. I don't like things happening in my district that wouldn't happen in somebody else's district. I don't think it's okay to have containers in a yard in District 4 if they're not okay in District 1, 2, and 3, because the people that voted for it wouldn't put it in their neighborhoods. That's a problem. So we have to be consistent. Because I promise you, if a rock quarry was coming to District 1 and they had an issue with it, they wouldn't want to just vote on it and put it in somebody else's district. It should be the same issue we have across the board. The cemetery is very simple, and I'm glad that we're working on it. Sad that it happened the way it happened, but happy that it's going to be better in the end. And the pictures, I thank you for going down there and spending the time to do that. If y'all can see the before and after pictures, it's a wow effect. So thank you to everybody that went down there and did the work. Thank you for making sure that we do the right thing, and thank you for citizens showing up and showing out. I appreciate every phone call I got, every late night after meeting to discuss how we make it better, and I thank the board for being quickly responsive in this manner. Had it not happened the way it happened, the cemetery wouldn't be better. So that's actually a good thing in retrospect. Our youth is up, and it's always on my mind. I apologize for my tardiness. I don't apologize for being late when I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But tonight I received a School Advisory Member of the Year award at Central and Northeast High School, right? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm reminded of the ability to give, and they thanked me for what I've done and what I've given. And it's a thankless job to be a teacher. I appreciate y'all because I've been there. It's a thankless job to be a county commissioner because some of us will go through that kind of stuff, right? And even board members and sometimes department chairs, we don't always say thank you for the work that you do, so I thank you all. I especially thank our firefighters because God bless you, I'm not getting up to go fight the fire. I will if you train me some more, I'm coming. But I'm just reminded of the work that the kids are doing. And in our county, I want to make sure that each one of our departments, we allocate some funds for at least 2 internships, paid internships per department. Workforce development money or not, because I haven't heard much about workforce development, but we need to create that pipeline and that opportunity and align it with the career pathways. And we've talked about it, but I want to make sure that it happens. So, Jason, I'm coming to your office, and Shannon this week.
We already allowed that.
Okay, but I don't want it allowed, I want to make sure we happen, because if I ask Levita, does she have 2 people in her department? And I know I don't.
I mean, but she's been offered that.
I want us to make it happen. That's the part. It's non-negotiable, right? Even for you, where she left already. So I'll have the conversation with her, you know, courageous conversation.
Be
Because
courageous.
yeah, it's gonna be courageous. I'll go in there. We have heavy equipment, pathway, I forget what it's called exactly, and we have an industrial park, and we've talked about giving those kids access to equipment to work out there. Why not? Teach them how to use it, right, sir? I know you can train them, right? And I know you know people who can train them, right? And the same thing with our apparatuses. I would love to get on a firefighting call, but I would like to get on the fire truck and learn how to use the hose. So let's really make the effort to make it happen and not just tongue-in-cheek it. That's all. So again, thank y'all. Appreciate it. And can't wait to the next meeting.
Great deal. All right. If we get a motion to adjourn to go into executive session for real estate and personnel
And litigation.
and litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank everybody for coming. Very.